Welcome to the Inner Game of Entrepreneurship podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and today's episode is a really fun, really special conversation with Dr. Kevin Mays, where we're going to get into a lot of deep stuff about why it is so necessary for entrepreneurs to do inner work, why self-leadership is the most critical component of business growth. And this conversation was really, really fun. Dr. Kevin is a blast, and he's giving you a free resource called his Vision Mastery Playbook, and I'm going to put the link to that in the show notes. Before we get into this episode, I want to share a couple of special things with you. One is I'm currently recording this from somewhere that is not my home, so if the intro sound is different, that's because the intro sound is different. I am coming to you from a condo in Mexico where I am hanging out and working for the next 10 days. And I was thinking this morning about how grateful I am that my business allows me to do things like this. I was chatting with someone and I told them I was coming here and they said, "What's the occasion?" And I said, "Thursday." And that to me is what entrepreneurship does for my life. It gives me the flexibility and the freedom that if I want to work for 10 days from a different country, I can. Not only can I in terms of my time flexibility, but my financial flexibility. And, I was traveling during Mercury retrograde, and we all know how that can be. So before I left, I put on my Mercury retrograde oil, and I just told myself, be ready, right? Like if my flight gets delayed, if things happen, whatever, it's whatever. We're traveling during Mercury retrograde. And indeed, during my travel day, some things came up that were inconvenient, but I was in a position that I could throw money at those issues. And I'd never take that for granted, right? Having something come up that's an extra $100, having an expense come up that's an extra $60 that you weren't anticipating, having a day that ends up costing hundreds of dollars more than you expected it to cost, used to be the kind of thing that would throw me into panic. I either fully wouldn't have been able to pay, and so things would have been much more inconvenient or much longer time delays or much more uncomfortable, or even the idea of double paying for something and being like, oh, well, I'm going to pay for this thing and then cancel it and pay for something else, and the refund may not hit my card for a few days, but that's okay because I have enough money in my account that I can pay for both things and I'll be okay. That was not my life. It was not my life for the majority of my existence. It wasn't until really my late 30s until I started doing all of the inner work that I lead entrepreneurs through now, inner work around money and worthiness and deservingness and what was possible for me and what is possible for me, what I'm capable of, what I'm allowed to have, what my thresholds are for receiving all of my stuff around charging money from my work and charging appropriate amounts for my work and being able to comfortably sell all of these things. I had to work on the inside. I had been self-employed for nearly my entire life, but I didn't really make money until I stopped looking at making money as being something that just came from hard work and understood that if money just came from hard work, I would have been rich. I had been working so hard my whole life. And I just kept overworking and undercharging, thinking that eventually I would make enough to earn the right to raise my prices and decrease my hours. And it doesn't work like that. It is so paradoxical, but it really doesn't. And it wasn't until I fully realized that you can't hustle your way into relaxation, right? You have to build the thing the way that you intend it to continue, right? We have to start the way we intend to continue. It wasn't until I realized that. It wasn't until I realized that it wasn't really about reaching a destination. It wasn't about seeing to believe. Anyone can do that. We actually have to believe to see. We have to know exactly what we want, and we have to start working that way, living that way, moving that way before it happens, and believe that it's going to in order to create it. And so many people think that they're going to be able to make it work the other way. And I used to as well. I just believed if I just worked hard enough, then I would make enough money to prove to myself that I was allowed to work less or make more or give myself more freedom. And it will never work. It does never work, and it will never work. So being in this position now, a handful of years later, 9 years later, being in this position to rent a condo in a different country and go work somewhere else for 10 days because I want to, and be recording to you now, looking out the window at the ocean, and to have situations where I can have an inconvenient travel day, and it's mildly inconvenient and maybe a little bit expensive, but not a disaster, is something I will never ever take for granted, and something I will never get over. And it is why I believe that entrepreneurship is the vessel, is the vehicle for heart-centered creatives, especially, to be able to change their material reality. I would not be able to do what I'm doing now with a job. I simply would not be able to. I would not be able to build the type of wealth I'm building with a job. I would not be able to, because honestly, none of the jobs that other people hire for my skill set pay enough to create the lifestyle that I'm building through my own company. It just wouldn't be possible. It's why I'm so passionate about helping other entrepreneurs do this inner work and reshape their inner worlds, redesign their own self-leadership, so that they believe that this type of life, not my type of life, but the life that you want, because the goal is not that you build my life, the goal is that you have the freedom and the choices that you want for your life. It's going to look different than mine. The point is that you can design exactly what you want and then build a business that supports it. And it's why I'm so passionate about this work. All of that is to say that tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the day that it drops, which is Thursday, August 7th, tomorrow is the pinnacle of the Lions Gate portal. It is 8/8 on the calendar. It is 8825, which is a 888. But if you take the full date, it's in a 9-year. So we're in an 8 cycle. The 8/8 portal is about abundance and opening a spiritual doorway that catapults you into change and into your next level. During a 9-year, and in numerology, a 9-year is the middle of a push cycle. So we have the growth that happens in an 8-year. And then there's supposed to be a lot of completion and resolution that happens in a 9-year, so that we can start fresh with new beginnings next year in a 1-year. So this is a period, astrologically, cosmically, that is about you realizing that the way you've been doing things is not working. And it might not feel very comfortable right now. It might really feel like you are just so fed up. But fed up is a great place to be, because we usually don't commit to big change until we are so freaking sick of what's happening that we can't take it anymore. And this cosmically should be just such a period. We should be waking up to the fact that we are ready for our next level. We are so sick of doing things the way that we've been doing them. We are so tired of operating at the level we've been operating at. We are ready for more. We are ready for that next level, even if that means we have to leave people, places, things, habits, outmoded and out. I just thought moded, like moded and corroded, if you know, you know, but like outmoded, outdated ways of thinking, feeling, and believing that just are not getting us to the place that we want to be. It's time to close those doors. It is time to once and for all commit to leaving those things behind, to becoming the version of ourselves that's capable of creating our next level. That is what we're cosmically supported for right now. And starting last year, I dropped a flash sale on 8/8. That is the most popular flash sale I've ever offered. So I decided to drop it again this year with a little twist. It is a 24-hour offer that is dropping tomorrow at midnight tonight. And it gets you one of two things. I'm adding a bonus. Offer number 1 is my full 6-month private coaching package for $8,888. That's $6,112 off, I think. It's usually 15K package. So it's 8888 for a full 6 month private coaching package with me. It's 3 sessions a month, Voxer support between calls, having my full collaboration and partnership on everything going on behind the scenes in your business, and doing the type of deep inner work required to upgrade your identity so that you can watch yourself becoming the person who takes the steps that creates the outcomes you're looking for. This is the deepest, most intimate way you can work with me. I very rarely discount one-on-one coaching. So if you've been wanting to work with me, I would highly recommend you hop on this package. So it's 6 months, my full coaching package for 8888, and there are payment plans available. The other option is 8 sessions for $888, and you can use these sessions anytime within 4 months. So you have from now until December to use your sessions. And there are payment plans for that as well. You can pay in full 888, you can pay 2 payments of 444, or you can pay 4 payments of 222. So you can do 2 sessions a month for 4 months, you can do 1 session a week for 8 weeks, you can break it up however you'd like to break it up, as long as you use your 8 sessions within 4 months. There are only 8 of those spots total available, and 2, as of this point, have already been claimed behind the scenes before the cart has even opened. So last year, this sold out really fast. This year, I anticipate that it will as well. For the full package, the full coaching package, I'm only opening 1 of those spots. So if you want it, I highly recommend that you claim it. For the 8 sessions for 888, there are 6 spots left. I'm going to be putting the link for both of those things in the show notes, and you can also just email me at intuitiveedgecoaching@gmail.com. You can shoot me a voice note on Instagram if you want to have a chat about it, if you have questions, if you want to talk about whether or not this is right for you. These sessions can be used for business coaching or life coaching, though I'm going to be honest, all business coaching is life coaching. Not all life coaching is business coaching, but all business coaching is life coaching. So I just wanted to let you know what's going on with me and how I'm feeling about my life, and how grateful I am for what this work, not just entrepreneurship, but the inner work that makes my business possible, how grateful I am for what it's done for me, and why I'm so passionate about doing this work with others, because I want you to have exactly the life you want. I want you to get to live exactly the way you want to live. I want you to have the time and the space to fill your cup, to make your art, to have the feeling that all of your needs are met, and that you have everything you need, but you could also get anything you want. I want that for you. And that is what this work is really about. So, the links for that are in the show notes, and without further ado, here is my conversation with the lovely Dr. Kevin Mays. Enjoy the episode. I'm always so excited you're here, but I'm extra excited because today on the show, I am talking with Dr. Kevin Mays, founder of Mays Leadership and author of the upcoming book, Lead Yourself First, which on the Inner Game of Entrepreneurship podcast is what we're all about. Dr. Kevin Mays is an executive coach, author, speaker, and facilitator. He has coached hundreds of executives to lead with intention and create successful collaborative teams. His clients have achieved tremendous system-wide growth and to foster more meaningful workplaces. With decades of experience and a depth of knowledge on team leadership and business development, Dr. Mays possesses the deep skill set that has set him apart from others in this field. Along with being an award-winning speaker and an author on team performance, Dr. Mays, is a transformational facilitator for leaders that are committed to becoming best in class. Dr. Mays, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. What an exciting time.
Can I call you Kevin, Doctor?
You can call me Kevin. You can call me whatever you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable.
Dr. Mays, so it's so formal, it's so fun. So we'll go back and forth, I think. So y'all, I have to share that I have little check-in calls that I do with people sometimes before we do a podcast episode, just to make sure that we vibe. And when Dr. Kevin and I got on our check-in call, we just started jamming to the point that I was like, we have to stop talking and fix this for the show. And so I'm really excited for this episode because we both have good chat. We both have good chat. So, Dr. Devin, before we started the show, you were sharing with me that you did your doctorate work on leaders who meditate. Let's start there. Share a little bit about that with us.
Absolutely. I am a self awareness junkie, recovering psychologist, doctor of leadership, self awareness junkie, first and foremost. And for me, it's been a long path of trying to understand not only what makes people tick, but how consciousness works, how my mind works, how to manage not only my own, they talk about emotional intelligence, which is great, but most of us we think we are utilizing free will, but we are to the extent that a goldfish in a bowl has freedom to swim wherever he wants. Most of us are caged by our own conception, our own belief systems, and our own emotional reactivity, and we live in this kind of autopilot pattern. And for me to be able to spend a lot of time trying to understand that in meditation retreats and in monasteries, and then just academically trying to understand how it is different models of understanding consciousness. And I love some of the work that's been put out, the recent work, like 3,000 years ago, about the real, in my mind, the real experts weren't looking at reality outside of themselves under a microscope, but had tuned their own ability to and sharpened their own attention to be able to understand how reality was working within themselves. And it was brilliant. I grew up in a world where big boys don't cry. I'll give you something to cry about. And I learned to be aware of myself above the neck. And I didn't really have any emotional awareness. I was in grad school to become a psychotherapist. And I remember asking my instructor, now, how do you gain this kind of awareness of what's going on emotionally? Because I had a hard time even identifying what emotion is. There's nothing really tangible there. And that turned me on to a lot of different meditation paths, ultimately Vipassana, which was the first teaching of the Buddha. And through this process, I learned to sharpen my own awareness and then to bring that crystallized attention into my corporeal being, right? To be aware of my body and the energetic force flowing within me in a way I never even knew was possible. In fact, I would have said you were outright lying to me if you told me it was possible before that. When I became aware of myself at this molecular level, I can feel this stuff in me, which I never even knew was possible. Then I found there were individuals who were running companies who were committed to this path, and I just lit up. For me, it was so exciting. And I went on a long pathway to find these individuals and to pull out what are these practices? How does meditation affect how we lead? And when I say lead, I mean leading yourself, because you lead yourself first to have an impact in an organization, or to have an impact in your family, an organization, or to have an impact in your life. What are these people doing? And they were leading distinctly differently. And you might say in modern terms, it's like the ego wasn't as strongly entrenched. There's less attachment. And because of that, I found folks who, sometimes I see leaders who don't have that practice, who might have grew up being the one who was the pleaser. And so now I'll find executives and business owners who are good at pleasing everybody, but not setting boundaries.
Right.
And I see too many entrepreneurs who are burned out because they do it all themselves and they don't hold anybody else accountable. Well, that's what I love about having that kind of that skill set, that conscious awareness skill set, to recognize that your job as an entrepreneur is not just to perpetuate a pattern that you learned early on. It's to suspend that pattern and do the thing that's going to get you the result you want, regardless of how it feels, regardless of what you think about it, right? Because I'll create a logic that'll keep me being right, and I'll always defer to others and be the guy who makes a joke and not create accountability or say the hard thing. But that doesn't help me get the result I want.
Oh my God, there's so many good things. Wait, I have to. Okay. Okay. Y'all see why I was excited about this conversation? I'm like, there's 75 different paths that we can go down. One thing I want to like double click on right off the bat, you named really the mechanisms of patriarchal and misogynistic culture, right? The big boys don't cry. I'll give you something to cry about. And then also the living from the head up.
Mm-hmm.
And in the work that I do, I literally just wrote a book that is about to come out. It's called The 6 Pillars of Body Love. And a ton of the work that I do is about reattuning to and resensitizing to the body, which also is inherently subversive of our dominant cultural paradigm, right? To like be in your body, to be
Hmm.
present means that we have to disrupt the idea that thoughts are over feelings, right? In a hierarchy, the mind is above the body, that the best thing we can aspire to as people is to be able to cut off all of the unruly and unmanageable signals that your body is giving you and like mind over matter everything, which
Hmm.
also of course leads into culture of extraction. The way we relate to the earth is the same way. We want to just dominate everything.
The atom bomb. What a brilliant thing. What a
We
destructive thing.
we want to like, so even starting with business exists in the dominant social paradigm of mind over matter, extractive, get as much of as you can out while putting as little as possible in, right? And that this is the morass that we come into when we step into the world of business. This is how business has been done for a really long time, not forever in human history, but for a really long time. And that doing business differently, literally what conscious leadership means, is just taking the pause, right? The thing that Viktor Frankl says, like that space in between stimulus and reaction, right? There's this pause, there's this break
Hmm.
where you get to consider, what am I experiencing? How do I want to respond to this? I don't have to do a pre-programmed reaction. I don't have to behave from societal conditioning. I have a moment where I can consider, what is the world I want to create, right? Like when we're talking about corporate culture, what is the world I want to create? Even if your corporate culture is a business of one, what is the culture of my company? Is the culture of my company, I drop all my boundaries and overgive because I have an annoying nickel and diming client who's texting me at 10 o'clock on a Saturday? Or is the culture of my company, we enjoy our weekends and we have work-life balance and I will get back to you on Monday, right? Like you always have this opportunity to decide if you are taking the spaciousness to slow down enough to not just react from our programmed reactions. And that does take the slowing down the consciousness, because that's what programming is. From the time you're a little kid, we've just been being plugged in with programming, training. Here's how you respond to this type of stimulus. And if you don't ever slow down, you will just be running from those operating systems of protect my ego at all costs, be right, please everyone, perform to be liked, right? Like whatever your particular programming setup is, that's how you're going to respond to everything, unless and until A, you realize there's an option. B, you do the brave thing of deciding that in this culture that prioritizes speed, you're willing to slow down, even if it means you don't make as much money as the person next to you, but you will. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. It actually turns out you make more. Uh, there's so much Western cultural dominant paradigm you have to unplug from to even start to work in this way. And so it is very countercultural and very brave to be willing to have these conversations in business and in public, um, and be like, hey, what if there was a totally different way to do business and your business won't fail and you won't end up homeless living under a bridge if you take 5 minutes to slow down and think about how you want to respond to things.
Well, the question for me is, what is the purpose of business? What is the purpose? Is it to build a number in an account that is nothing more than an abstraction and everything becomes a pursuit of that? I see too many large businesses that are completely myopically focused on the next quarter's returns, and they steamroll over the real purpose, which is the people. Every business is a human institution for people, by people, to a human end. End of story. There's nothing else. That's all there is. But it's amazing how much we've become lost, and I think it is because of that. It's a gift of the Industrial Revolution when we began to look at the organization as a machine and the human body as a machine, and it's all just the component parts. and we instilled ourselves with these values that it's interesting how I think I adopted. I'm a lineage carrier that from my father, who worked at GM for 34 years, from his father, from his father, from his father, from his father, and mother and father and mother, on and on and on and on. And now we have a question: do we want to carry the lineage? The hard thing is I have an airtight logic that says it's the right thing to do. I spent my life defending it, building it, and it's the secret to my success. So how do I let go of this thing? There's so much fear built around the letting go of the thing that was essential for my survival when I adopted it. I
I
came into the world in order to get my attention needs met. I learned to be the responsible one. Oh, dad liked that. And when I made a joke, mom liked that. When I smiled, my sister's friends like that. I'm like, oh, okay. And now here I am decades later playing out this programming. And when I get outside of it, it's very uncomfortable. And so all of my being pushes me back in to think and to feel and behave the same way I always have.
Yeah. And I think, what's important to me to always recognize is because we're taught to prioritize logic over everything, it's easy to think there is a singular logic, but there is a logic of everything. And so recognizing that the logic I'm operating from, yes, it makes perfect sense, but it is the logic of fear. It is the logic of oppression. It is the logic, right? Everything has a logic, right? So it's like, yes, I can come up
Mm-hmm.
with a completely logical explanation for why I do the things I do, but it is the logic of fear, lack, scarcity, or is it the logic of growth, the logic of expansion, the logic of reciprocity, repair? Like everything has a logic. And so like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be careful. I know, I'm just saying for all of us, when we say, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is the logical thing to do, probably the logic of what?
Yeah. Well, it's no different. You think about the entrepreneur whose weekends are gone and spends no time with their family, and they have a logic that says this is what you got to do. But really, when you peel back the layers, it's one of two things. It's ancient programming that they've inherited and are carrying on, and it's emotion, fear of a lack.
Yeah.
And there's a hole that we're trying to fill. So we want more, more, more. And this fear, 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 fear. And I get it. I'm an entrepreneur. How do we allow ourselves to sit in our own discomfort without reacting? To sit in our own fear, in our own squeamishness when our skin is crawling, and to just breathe and to be okay. To be
Right.
okay, not being okay.
I'm a yoga practitioner, and I think that I started when I was like 13 years old. I'm also a dancer, and I think that one of the profound gifts of asana practice in yoga, the physical practice of yoga, is that really what it is training you for is to be present under physical direct, to be uncomfortable and just sit
Mm-hmm.
there and breathe and be
Mm-hmm.
non-reactive, to like, my muscles are burning. I am shaking. I hate this. I've been in yoga classes, especially like hot
Mm-hmm.
yoga. Hot yoga brought out a level of rage in me that I did not know I was carrying. I was like, oh, doing this while I'm really hot makes me want to literally punch people. And just to be like, oh, I didn't even know I had rage inside my body. And now not only am I acknowledging there's rage inside my body, I can't react to it because I'm in a room full of people holding a pose, breathing, and I have
Sizzling in it.
feeling in it.
Sizzling in it.
And
Yes.
all I can do is sit here and be with it. And there's this thing that breaks open inside you when you kind of ride the wave of all I can do is be here, where it peaks and you want to punch everyone in the face and then and you want to quit and you want to go home and you want
Mm-hmm.
to get in your car and
Mm-hmm.
just never come back. And then you stay and you breathe and you stay and you breathe. And after a moment, like you feel something let go and relax. And then you're like, oh, I'm so much stronger than I thought it was. I have so much more in me. Like I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I have so much more in me than I thought I did. I have such a capacity to be present with things that I didn't know I had. And then if it hopefully you're taking that off the mat into your life. And that is when you can be sitting in a deeply uncomfortable conversation with a spouse or a client or a team member. And it is so emotionally high stakes. And you can just be there and be like, I don't need to fight you in this moment. And I don't need to defend myself. And I don't need to like have my ego flare up. I can just sit with like, oh, you're really mad right now, or you're really hurt right now, or you're really upset right now. And that makes me feel really scared. And I feel everything in me wanting to react to either fight you or to fix the situation as quickly as possible and make nice just to like make you happy. And I can just be here and breathe and be in this moment. These practices that we do outside of business or even outside of family life, meditation, our physical practices, whatever it is, the thing that we do, I always say like dance training is life training, like the things that you're
Right.
doing,
Right.
test kitchens, a test kitchen for your spirit. For one thing, I know a lot of people who like do all the practices, and I'm like, I don't know if this is working for you because you don't carry it to other things. I'm like, what are you doing this for? You're just checking a to-do list to say you're good at meditating. It's not helping you. Like you're not getting the crossover lesson.
Hmm.
But hopefully you are doing these practices to continually expand your capacity to be present for life and to be present for challenges, to be present in your business. And like that is the gift of them if you're using them well.
And the only way to truly be intentional is from a place of presence. If you don't have the presence, you are going to be in a reactive state or you're going to be driven by these ancient patterns. The only way to truly live life on your terms is through that doorway, is through presence. It's such a powerful vehicle.
When you encounter, I have clients like this, and I'm sure you do too. When you encounter the people who pack their schedule to the gills, maybe even to the point of diagnosable workaholism, because they are incapable of being alone with their thoughts and their,
Mm-hmm.
what do you say to them? How do you work with those people?
Oh, I encourage them to fill it to the gills and watch. And I said, let's observe. I had this conversation with somebody today. It was brilliant. I said, oh, it's so wonderful how many things you're able to produce because recognize from my perspective, they're simply playing out a pattern they developed that helped them get their attention needs met. And now it's 4 decades later, and they're still playing out the same pattern, and it's not working. It's working that they're getting some results, but also they're exasperated. And so I love to highlight the pattern and say, do more of that. Let's see what happens. Just totally devote your life to working all the time. And don't worry about the other stuff. And it becomes so ludicrous that they realize the purpose of business is not to continually perpetuate this pattern that you learned 4 decades ago. That worked then. That was the programming. Now it's time for a software upgrade. And for me, the key is now, if you don't want to let those patterns dictate how you show up, it's important to have clarity of your vision. Who do you want to be? What is the impact you want to have? What's the business you want? Why do you want it? How do you want to give back? What do you want to do for your family, for your community? Is it just, if you're blind and you're not paying attention, it's just trying to stuff a hole that will never be filled? Or can you just with grace, like you talked about, sizzle in your own juice and have clarity so you can start to align your thinking, your decision making, and your behavior with that vision of who you want to be as a leader, as an executive, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, a father, a child, as a spouse, whatever role. Most people don't really live with intention that way. They live with reaction and then they blame the world around them. Oh, it's her fault. It's his fault. It's the government's fault. It's the tax man's fault. It's everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
100% ownership and accountability.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, let's go there, right? So I talk a lot about like being at cause. That's kind of how I, right? That radical self-responsibility. Like when you're like, no, but you, what are you doing? And they're like, but this person, and you're like, right, but no, but you,
Mm-hmm,
what did you
mm-hmm.
do? Right? Like just constantly bringing it back and not in a way. And this is something that I always like to have to caveat because I also work with a lot of people who, like, the way their trauma programming sets them up is to try to take ownership of things that are not theirs.
Yes,
And be like,
yes.
how is that my fault? And you're like, no, no, no. Some things are other people. Like, we can say when other people have behaved badly. We can
Hmm.
say, well,
Hmm.
like, no, that person treating you poorly, that's not the thing you own. That's not the thing that's your fault. We can get into the way you keep forgiving them, the way you keep staying, the way you
Hmm.
that part is the part you can own, but we're not going to take responsibility for other people's behavior, right? Like people who get to the point of boundarylessness where they actually don't know where they begin and other people end. Like we have to kind of start there.
I've seen this kind of trauma, if I may, really people who have experienced trauma in their life and now are running a business, and to
Mhm.
see how that trauma just smears all over the business and they don't create accountability, and then they get frustrated and then they blow up and they bring their trauma. That's why the personal work is so important. To be an entrepreneur, you must do the personal work because it's
Unavoidable.
not as simple as just running a business. You're bringing yourself and you are the vehicle of
Yeah.
that. And it's of you, for you, by you. And unless you're taking care of you, the business is never going to reach its potential.
I'm thinking about, things I've seen with entrepreneurs I've worked with who have run teams. So there's one side of it where it's I don't want to be exploitative. I don't want to exert power over. I don't want to micromanage
Mhm.
anyone. I don't ever want to be the kind of boss that makes people feel bad because I've had that. And so instead, I delegate poorly and I don't communicate any expectations and I don't it's not just that I don't micromanage, I don't manage. And
Mhm.
then people are not getting clear communication and then I'm disappointed in their work. And rather than having a conversation about that, where I look at my leadership, I just take all the work back and do it myself, but still pay them, but feel resentful, right? Like there's kind of that pattern that I've seen.
Huge pattern. Yes.
And then I've seen I worked with one person, this one was fascinating, where I realized after a while that the way that they dealt with anxiety was to make new plans. And so they had a team. So they would create a plan. They'd have a big meeting. They'd get everybody on board with the plan. They'd give everyone tasks. And then a couple weeks later, they would have a moment of financial anxiety. And in that moment, they would create an entirely new plan. And then they would call a meeting and give everyone entirely new instructions. And then everyone was so confused all the time and no one knew what they were supposed to be doing. And so then you start to have high turnover. It's like there is no way, when we're talking about this self leadership, if your goal is to run a business and you want to lead people, right? You want to lead your customers, you want to lead people into buying from you,
Mhm.
you want
Mhm.
to lead even a small team, there is no way to not get serious and intentional about your relationship skills, your communication skills, and your boundaries. Because that's business is just relationships with lots and lots of people. So anything that's happening in your family relationships, in your friendship relationships, and your close relationships, it's gonna happen in your business in a magnified, high stakes way. Because now we've got money on the line and your dreams and maybe your life savings.
Mhm. And the thing too, I recognize there's this thing I think of as executive amplitude, and that is as an entrepreneur or an executive in your business, the further you are in the business, the greater your thinking, your feeling, your behaving, it's all amplified across the country, the company. You set the culture in the way you show up, sets the cornerstone of the culture. Not about what you say, but how you say it.
Yeah.
Not about what you feel, but how you express it. All of that sets the culture. And so when you're the one who takes it on and does it yourself, people disengage. Fine, I'm not good enough. And that undermines them
Yep.
simply because you're playing out a pattern. And what I find one of the most profound patterns I love revolves around birth order. Youngest children lead distinctly different than oldest children,
Oh,
lead
let's get into it.
distinctly different than middle
How's it
children.
different?
It is so amazing to see. I mean, oldest children, what are they? The family hero. So often, oldest children leaders. This is Jeff Bezos, right? It's the one who follows the rules. They are the tradition leader in the traditional sense. You know, I grew up. I had two older sisters. The oldest sister, she followed the rules. She did everything she was supposed to. She was the good girl. She's traditional. She, in Michigan, where I grew up, if you want to do anything worth your salt, you're an engineer. So my oldest sibling, becomes the PhD electrical engineer, sets the bar for the family. And traditionally, historically, what? It's the firstborn's the heir apparent. So we have, and they carry all the weight. And the thing I think is fascinating in the way we got programmed or programmed ourselves, for the first couple of years, the oldest child got something that none of the other siblings get. Undivided parental attention. They're special. And then one day, mom and dad bring this other thing home. The oldest child, I watched my two kids, and the oldest was not having it. When we brought that baby home, he was not a fan.
Send it back.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that one day his life changed forever. His role changed. He's no longer the baby. He's no longer the little Donovan. Now he's mommy's helper. He's the big boy. Help mommy out, run over and get a diaper. And he's 2 years old. Now we have the second one comes along, and his role, he's the baby of the family. He's the cute little baby. Oh, he gets all the attention by making jokes and laughing and smiling. Now here he is, decades later, still playing out the same role. That's Richard Branson, right? You think about the fun-loving guy he is, and he leads differently based on that DNA or that kind of archetype he developed. My wife and I are both psychologists, and
your poor kids.
Crazy. We watch our kids like, what are we doing? How are we doing this? They're textbook. My oldest is the textbook oldest. My youngest is the textbook youngest. I grew up, I'm the youngest. I play the role. I never even knew I was doing it. I never asked. Nobody told me to, but that's the person I have become. We become relative to those around us without even knowing we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's wild. What's your birth order?
I love that you brought this up because I was also thinking about gender in it too, right?
Yes.
Like an oldest daughter is a different beast than an oldest son.
Can be, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's commonalities.
Yes.
But I think that the way that eldest daughters are a tertiary parent is a special quality.
So they learn nurturing. They're the nurturer, ultra responsible, self-sacrificing, put everybody else first, take care of, where the oldest son might be more the role model, the one who's athletic, the one who pioneers the way.
Yeah.
Now, and recognize, let's just preface this by saying these are just roles we adopt. Yeah. And that's not like hard science, but the key is to start to pay attention to the role you adopted without knowing it. Because sometimes our own detriment is in there. The seeds of our own demise are buried in that role we adopted.
And I mean, we adopted it, but let's be honest, like we, first of all, as humans, belonging, mattering, and love are core needs of our nervous system. We have a ridiculously long period of dependency. Like, we're not like turtles. You can't just birth us and let us go off into the ocean. Like, I can't even pick up my own head for a really long time. So from birth, we know on an instinctual mammalian level, I need to make myself matter to these people so that they feed me. And then our parents are raised and their parents were raised, right? Like all of these roles, the way that girl children are treated versus boy children are treated. Like we are being enculturated into these roles from the day that we're born. And our parents aren't, for the most part, unless they really are, they're not thinking about it. They weren't thinking, I'm going to raise this girl child differently from this boy child. Thoughts about gender roles and raising children in a gender neutral way are pretty darn new. I'm in my 40s. Like, my parents weren't thinking, I want to make sure that I raise my children in a way that's not conforming to gender. Like, that wasn't on their radar. They weren't thinking about that. My mom wasn't thinking actively, because my firstborn is a girl, I'm going to make sure she knows how to cook and clean and do dishes. She was thinking, can you handle this? Because you're an extra pair of hands in the house.
Oh, thank God she's here. Right. Okay.
I need help. I need help. And like, I learned how to do this. My mom taught me to cook,
My grandmother taught her to cook. Like, this is just what you do. It's just what you do,
Mhm.
right? Like, you don't,
Absolutely.
it takes a lot, right? And I think what's interesting for me is I'm both the eldest daughter and the black sheep. So I had a
Interesting.
very different thing where,
Hmm.
like, I'm not the upholder and I'm not the
Hmm.
role
Hmm.
model.
Hmm.
And I think people felt a lot of betrayal around my unwillingness
Yes,
to play that
yes.
role. Um,
There's an expectation though somehow, and that's what it's so much of this is about, the expectation and how we
yeah.
meet them.
How could you not do this thing that
Hmm.
we all expected you to do, right? And it took a really long time in my family for people to come around to me and decide I was okay. Um, and then my brother,
But
I
you were the pioneer, weren't you? You did the things that you wanted to do that you believed were right, and nobody was going to tell you differently.
yeah.
That's amazing as a firstborn to be able to pioneer that pathway, because more often we'll see firstborns who stay within the lines.
But then what I think happened is my brother felt this ultra pressure to be the upholder
Yep.
and be like, oh well, I'm gonna
Family
be it because
hero.
I'm seeing people not like sister doing her own thing and
Hmm.
behaving outside the lines. So I'm gonna be the best. I feel like growing was felt very responsible for our parents emotionally in a way
Hmm.
that I did not. And so I think our family dynamic was a little different. But I also see him having younger sibling things of like, I don't need to plan anything. I just kind of go with the flow and I do whatever. And like, yes, I get to be jokey and have the fun and like I'm the baby.
Isn't it amazing? Well, an amazing fact I read recently that as a 3-year-old, our brain is forming 1 million neural connections a minute.
Mm,
Mind blowing. And it speaks to, I think, the turtle comes out and swims away. We come out in 20 years, we swim away.
right.
We are so susceptible to environmental influences more than any other being. And that's why, we have a pug, and our pug has a great personality, the same as all pugs. But individual humans have their own individual personality because they're conditioned by these environmental influences that are part of the family system, and how we experience it, make sense out of it, relate to it, and find our role within it. And then that is what that's what leads entrepreneurs, and sometimes gets in their way. Like, how do we turn that programming off when it doesn't serve us? Because we don't want to get rid of the stuff that works,
Yeah.
but also the stuff that works, our strength becomes our detriment when overdone.
Yeah. Yeah. What is that quote about like poison is a matter of like of dosage? Like I forget what the exact quote is, but it's like it's a matter of amount. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah, the
right.
difference between medicine and poison is the dosage or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh yeah. And I think that when we are talking about this, right, this idea of self-leadership in entrepreneurship, you can get away. I'm going to use a funny word, but it's the word that's coming to me, y'all. You can get away with like chuckle fucking your way through life if you never want to do anything big or meaningful and you just want to like coast and go to work and come home and like watch TV and have kind of ho hum surface level relationships, you can get away with like kind of never doing any deep introspection your whole life and you'll probably be, I mean, I wouldn't have fun, but you'd be fine.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, you'd be fine.
Ignorance is bliss.
But the second you want to do anything big or meaningful, whether that's you want to have big, deep relationships with people that go beyond surface level, if you want really deep intimacy, you have a desire to deeply be known, you want to make art that is like revelatory and connects people, you want to build a business, the second you want to do something big, you now have this new level of obligation around your inner work because something I tell myself all the time is like the idea of like nothing will stand in my way. I will not allow anything to stand in the way of my dreams or my success, including me. I will not be the thing that stands in my own way. I will not let my past traumas, my old hurts, my stories, my resentments be the thing that block me from my success. So if I want to be successful, I have to be like, okay, well, that means I might have to go get some therapy. I might have to get a coach. I might have to do this journaling. If I want to really take on the responsibility of seeing this thing through to fruition, I'm making a commitment that I'm not going to let anything stand in my way, including myself.
Well, and I love that idea, because I would argue that self is the only thing that can stand in your way. If you are committed to something, full on 100% ownership, accountability, responsibility, you've burned the boats and you are there on the new land, there's two options: go forth or die.
Yeah, you lay down and die and give up, or you do it.
When I was a kid, I drove a motorcycle out to the West Coast from Michigan. And I remember when I got out there, I ran completely out of money. I didn't know anybody for 2,000 miles. There's no cell phones. Motorcycle broke down. And I'm on my little pup tent on the PCH, Pacific Coast Highway there outside of Carmel, middle of nowhere. There's nothing. And I remember this like complete destruction of self inside. Like, what am I going to do? Just totally lost and anchorless. And then at some point, as I'm sitting there staring out at the ocean, something clicked inside of me. And I thought, finally, I have no excuses. I have nothing in my way. And I have two options. I'm going to lay down in the ditch and die, or something's going to happen. And it was magnificent. The universe started opening like I never could have imagined. It was beyond logic. The world is not a logical place. The universe is so far beyond any kind of human logic. When I let go of all that and let go of excuses and let go of had nobody to fall back on and no money and nothing, it was the most magical summer of my life. I had a house over the ocean right outside of Pebble Beach in Carmel with a hot tub and just a lot of friends out of nothing. How does that happen? It's like you take that step into the unknown. You pull off the veil of what we think we know and truly strip yourself bare. And it's amazing. It's amazing what is available in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the scariest thing you'll ever do, which is why so many people avoid it.
Yes. Yeah. That's why back to sizzling in your own juice and just being able to be okay with anxiety, with fear, with whatever it is, shame, guilt. I love it. I work with one business owner who now she would say her best friend is guilt. Oh, my best friend's back again. Hello, guilt. Because guilt was driving so many decisions that she was making. It was driving her. And it wasn't about getting rid of the guilt. It was about changing her relationship with the guilt. Don't struggle against the emotion in us. Don't try to get rid of it, but try to act like it's not there. What is it? It's nothing more than a thought and a feeling in your body. Good, welcome it. The guilt is back. There it is. Welcome. All right. Now we're going to do this thing, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to feel you. But the feeling of you is not going to keep me from doing it. Or people say, I just wish I wasn't afraid of X. Bullshit. We're waiting around not to be afraid of something. The world doesn't happen. Have fear and do it anyway. That's the power.
Looping this back, I think, to where we started, this idea of the way that we're trained around thoughts and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
That I think so we are really trained that, again, that we should be able to mind over matter, and that our feelings are useless, inconvenient, a thing we need to dominate or shove down or get rid of. And it doesn't work. And it's also totally doesn't make any sense. Like, why would we have them if we were not supposed to have them, right? Like, we have a full spectrum of emotions for a reason. I believe that our emotions and our feelings are sacred signals that are designed to guide us toward the life we want, right? In the same way that we wouldn't be upset that, like, I use the word feelings and emotions separately, right? Like, because they are different. Like, we have feeling sensation in our body. so that we can tell when something is hot or sharp and you can move your body away. When you don't have that, like there are conditions where people don't have that, it's very, very dangerous. That whole movie Novocaine, it's a fun movie, but like the movie Novocaine is about a guy who like has this condition where he can't feel pain, and it's incredibly dangerous. He could die at any moment because he could cut himself and bleed out and not realize he was cut because he doesn't feel it. Like we are designed to have sensitization to the world around us to guide us. And in the same way that we need that feeling proprioception in our body to tell when our body is in danger, we need our emotions to let us know when something is not right. When you're with a person that makes you uncomfortable, you don't want to use your mind to shove that down and override that. You want to go, what is it about this person or this relationship that's uncomfortable? Is my body telling me this person is dangerous and bad news and I need to listen to that for my safety? Is this person telling me this deal, or is this emotion telling me this deal is a bad deal for me and I shouldn't enter into it? Is this emotion telling me this team member is not the right team member and I need to let them go? Like when we're constantly trying to shove down, override, think through our emotions, we lose access to this huge wealth of knowledge and intelligence
Wisdom.
inside us. It's not the intelligence of our mind is not the only type of intelligence available to us. There are tons of different types of intelligence available to us through our body, and we are really trained to poo-poo the wisdom of the body, the wisdom of the emotions, the value that they play in our lives for guidance in favor of trying to think our way through everything.
Well, and the amazing thing is,
disastrous.
our mind exists really within our body. Without our body, there's no mind.
Right.
There's no consciousness, right? So for me, the discovery was using my mind to wake up to the wisdom of my body and to be able to shift my attention out of separation and hypercognition into a deeper awareness of my body at any given moment. And in doing so, enter into my, I guess I'll call it my unconscious mind. My mind is always, our minds are always aware of our body. Our hearts keep beating, whether we're aware of it, we keep breathing. Our mind is always aware of our body. And so to be able to enter into that unconscious space by bringing your attention into the realm of your body and be able to feel that and wake up to it, it's powerful, because in my experiences, that's where you begin to interrupt those patterns.
Yeah.
It's in the physiological reaction that happens. It's a sensation that we react to. We don't react to the thing we're perceiving. We react, there's a thing we perceive, we have a story, it evokes a reaction, and we react out of the sensation.
Yeah.
We react to the sensation in our body. And what if we could just be aware? Powerful stuff.
Huge. Right. Well, and I mean, thinking about that person who works themselves to the bone and overpacks their schedule, usually that is a response to anxiety. I have an anxiety that comes up when I sit still that says something bad's going to happen. I'm going to run out of money. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not enough. I'm not doing good enough. This is uncomfortable. And in the same way as any addiction functions, right? Like your immediate response is, well, I have to quiet this anxiety. And the thing that quiets the anxiety is I work more.
That's the combination.
And you just got to stop and be like, maybe I don't need to quiet the anxiety. Maybe I need to have a conversation with it. Like you said with guilt, like pull up a chair. Anxiety, what are you afraid of? What are you trying to teach me?
This is the beautiful thing. I find that pattern will go all the way back. Oh, I was the responsible one in the family. It was a chaotic household. My survival required me, and the family's survival required me to be the one who cooked dinner, who kept the family safe from the alcoholic father, or whatever the story is, right? And that pattern in those million neurons a minute that get laid down now gets carried forward. And so there's some legitimacy in that. If I'm not getting stuff done, there's some anxiety, but it's this ancient pattern that is now driving us, and we don't like the anxiety. So we just, how do we get rid of it? Just do more. Just be busy until we burn out and have a heart attack at 52 years old.
And then even those patterns of like, I work until I burn out because what I learned in childhood was I only get sympathy care and a break when I'm sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to go until my body breaks because that's the only time I'm allowed to rest, right? Like even recognizing that those are patterns that we carry because we're like, oh, I think it's okay for me to lay down as long as I'm ill. Otherwise, it's never acceptable, right? We carry these ways of being and we don't even realize like, oh, why do I have this pattern of twice a year I get really, really sick, knocked out on my ass for 3 weeks? And it's like, well, is that because you believe that that's the only time you're allowed to take a break? Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's fantastic. I love thinking about just the cultural paradigm, right? Of working, and I talk about the newer generation, the young folks. Oh, they're lazy. Oh, they don't want to work. Oh, they're not good for anything. No, they have reset their values. They're not willing to work their whole life away. And they don't have loyalty to a company that doesn't have loyalty back. My dad worked at GM for 34 years and got a pension. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so I'm not willing to sacrifice my existence for a company that has no skin in the game for me. If they don't like me, I'm out. If they decide to downsize, I'm out. And it's just interesting to me, that whole argument about the lazy next generation is really more a statement about bad leadership than it is about anybody's willingness to work. People are problem solvers. We want to solve problems. We want to contribute. We want to do things meaningful. And we're not willing to operate in the old paradigm where we're a cog in a machine. We're a piece of a robot on the assembly line producing cars. That just doesn't cut it anymore. How do you help people find meaning in their work? And that's the interesting thing for entrepreneurs, because it starts off meaningful, but then after a while, I think entrepreneurs get caught wearing all the hats in their job and it starts to burn them out. But the thing that got them into that position, being able to do everything and be ultra responsible, is the thing that'll kill them, because they don't delegate. They don't trust others to do it well enough. Because if you want it done right, you do it yourself. And all these stories that haunt them that ultimately undermine their success. How do you rewrite the script?
All right. Well, how do you rewrite the script?
Well, the original teaching of the Buddha, with your thoughts, you create the world. And this is the amazing thing for me, is that while when we came into the world, we didn't have the software. We had the hardware, we had a brain, but we didn't have our mind really fully developed. Started having experiences. Based on those experiences, formed thoughts that got ingrained in our brain's neural fabric. Now we have these 8-lane highways in our brain that support our thought process. But here's the beautiful thing for me, is that we have neuroplasticity in scientific terms. If you change your thinking over time, your brain will rewire itself. So how do you change the narrative inside? Now, they make a big joke about affirmations and the stuff you tell yourself, but it's funny. I used to listen to a lot of NPR until I realized every 20 minutes on NPR, they do the death count. Tell you how many people died, where they died, what kind of political scandals happening, how many people, what war, what's the conflict, and we're putting this stuff in our consciousness. So there's this thing like we uphold the news. Oh, the news is the thing we should be. When I grew up, it was the adult, sophisticated thing. Why would you put that? I'm not here for mindlessness, but to really govern and pay attention to what we put into our consciousness and to notice the patterns in thinking. And so for me, it's a simple rehearsal. I have sticky notes all over with the messages I rehearse in my brain to tell myself, who am I becoming? Because without that, we are just becoming the person we've always been. Or do you want to transcend that and become what's truly possible in this lifetime? And for me, that's that rehearsal process. It's about ingraining a new pattern, but you got to do it over and over and over until it becomes the new normal. The reprogram, the upgrade, get rid of DOS programming. It's time to upgrade.
I love this so much. And I think that, people can find like affirmation and stuff like that hokey, but have you heard the idea that like by the time you're 35 years old, 90 to 95% of the quote unquote thoughts you think in a day are not actually thoughts. It's just your mind spewing out repeats of things you've thought before, things you've read in magazines, things your parents said. Your mind is like just spitting out garbage a majority of the time. Like if you just sit and listen, right, which meditation affords you just sit and listen. If you were to write down every single random thought that passes through when your brain is just going, it's just chatter. you're not having original new thoughts. Actually, and I say this to people all the time, original new thought is kind of uncomfortable. Like if you're confused, that means you're learning. If you're never having to stretch for something, like when was the last time you were like, oh, this like hurts my brain a little bit to try to figure this out? That's what learning feels like. Learning feels like sometimes a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit stretchy, a little confusing.
Or downright frustrating because we are so used to being smart.
Yeah.
That's the script. Oh, I learned, just be smart. And now I can't solve this, so I don't do that. I don't stray into those areas.
So most of the time, we're not actually having thoughts. We're just replaying old shit.
Robot brain. Yeah.
And so when I talk with people about affirmation, journaling, writing things down, right? Like those subliminal audio, like those kinds of things. I would like to remind people that you have actually already been in affirmation, but you've been affirming the wrong thing for years and years. And you've been telling yourself, oh, you're a fucking idiot. Like you've been doing affirmations. They were just not helpful. And if you want to wire a new groove in your brain, it is going to take the same level of repetition of the new thing that you want to think as you have of the old thing, but you just don't remember because you started thinking the old thought in like second grade.
I just want to pause with that because that is so profound to be able to recognize that we've always been doing this kind of affirmation, this story about who we are. I am. The I am has always been there. I am. And unfortunately, it's been unconscious.
Yeah.
And so it's I am not good enough unless I work really hard, unless I'm helpful to everybody, unless I'm pleasing, unless I'm important. All of these things that absolutely cut us off at the knees. I think that's so profound to think that if you do that with some intention and purpose in alignment for me with a vision of who you want to become, you can give birth to a whole new being right now.
Yeah.
Not some other time, right now. It starts now.
And the annoyance of, oh, you mean I have to repeat it? Well, yeah, because you repeated this other thing for years and years and years to the point that you don't even notice you're repeating it anymore. So yeah, you're going to have to repeat it. You're just going to have to start a new practice. It was funny. Last week in my dance class, I was trying to teach my dancers how to do a backward roll, like basically a backward somersault over your shoulder. And they did a few. And they were like, oh my God, this is so hard. It's, adults, like when you're a kid, doing a somersault is nothing. As an adult, you have all of this. I'm going to break my neck. I'm going to hurt myself. This is so scary. I can't see where I'm going. It's much more challenging to do things like that as a grown-up. And they were kind of laying on the floor looking a little shell-shocked. And I went, okay, well, that was really good. So we've done 5 of them. And what do they say? It takes 10,000 to get to mastery. So let's just keep going. And they just like all looked at me and I'm like, yeah, like you're just going to have to repeat it. That's it. We don't get to quit. We don't get to be like, well, I wasn't great at it the 3rd try, so now I will never do that again. It's like, no. This is just skill building. It just requires repetition. Roll up your sleeve. Like you said, we can either lay down and die or we can get up and keep going. And those are the only 2 options.
Sarah, I love what you're saying because this is the entrepreneur journey, right?
Yeah.
This is absolutely it. And they don't want to, so often get stuck doing the same thing the same way they've always done it and can't figure out why they're not getting the result they want because they won't do the backward somersault. That's uncomfortable over and expand their skill set. And then the hard thing is when the scramble happens and they realize, oh, I need to do books and marketing and fulfillment and customer relationships. And their head goes right down and they lose their vision and they lose sight of why they get into the business. And then the burnout happens, and then it becomes a slog. And it doesn't have to be. It can be the excitement of when you master and people started, I'm sure after 20 or 25, people are starting to say, hey, I got this.
Yeah. And then everyone in the room claps and everyone gets so excited. And then you have a breakthrough. And then you feel like a kid for a second where you're like, oh, I just acquired a new skill. Mom, look.
Yes.
And how often as adults do we get to have that? Like if we don't go seek it, we lose out on that thing of like, it's so exciting to acquire a new skill, to go through the arc of this was challenging, confusing, frustrating. I wanted to quit. I had to find my grit. I had to get into some resilience. I had to notice that I didn't think I could do it. And then I had to like get some guidance and then I practiced and then I did it. Like that's so fun. And we lose track of that in adulthood so often because we're not pushing those boundaries or trying, because it's really acceptable and easy to get to the part where it's frustrating and then be like, I stopped.
I think because of that, I find that people go down two tracks in life, right? They get more deeply ingrained over time. And I've watched these like old folks who are rigid and tight and cantankerous. And it's like we come to this world with this wide open spectrum of emotion, and we learn to constrain that to fit into our system. And that constraint continues over time and gets tighter until it strangles them and they're unhappy and not fun to be around. And then you find folks who take this emotion they experience, they learn this constraint, but at some point they learn wisdom and grace and they learn to let go. And it doesn't mean they don't have boundaries, but they aren't attached. And the boundaries don't drive them the same way. And you find these folks who have this wisdom and grace and elegance they move through the world with. And these two paths are available to all of us. But one is easy and painful, and the other is difficult and bliss.
I love that framing. Easy and painful. Because people don't think of those things, right?
Yeah,
as
right.
going together. But that's what it is. It's easy for lots of reasons, right? And easy because it's socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm. You have to think.
Easy because no one's going to challenge you on it.
You don't have to think. You just keep doing what you've always done. And then you're a victim of the world. Blame the world. Everybody else is the problem.
Yeah. I could have been somebody. I could have been a contender. And then what we get out of that story, right? Like there's something seductive about being the really talented person who could have made it if it wasn't for how unfair your circumstances were. And you get the payoff of that story and that identity.
I'm okay. It still keeps hidden that ghost we all have of our own inadequacy. Right. And for me, the inadequacy comes from the fact that we came into the world with this infinite spectrum of emotion and we learned it's not okay. So we learned to live in a certain zone of okayness. The parents told us to go outside when all of our friends were in and we were bouncing off the walls. The way we are is not okay. Go outside. And we learn to constrain. And we learn that part of us is not okay. And we carry that on into our life. What if we could let go of that?
Yeah.
Be okay not being okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like, oh yeah, like I am a lot. I am loud. I am boisterous. I am bouncing off the wall sometimes. I am rambunctious. I am, right? What? Okay. And what? Right?
I'm okay.
And again, back to the body stuff is like starting in elementary school. That is where we start the process of like, you're not allowed to listen to your body. If you're hungry and it's not lunchtime, you sit in your desk. If you want to play and it's not recess time, you sit in your desk. Everything about being trained to be a person is about being trained to control all of your natural impulses and all of the things that your body wants and ignore them in favor of playing a role and making everyone else happy and being good.
Mm-hmm.
And being good means, not ever causing a scene or being difficult or making waves or asking too many questions and just
fitting into the social norm. Yep.
Oh my gosh. I could talk to you all day. We've already been on for an hour. So I guess let's see. If we wanted to like end with one thing, if you wanted to give some word of wisdom, encouragement, invitation, a practice, something that you would like to offer our entrepreneurs that you think would make like the biggest difference for them, what would you want to offer them?
I have something I put together because I was thinking about this conversation beforehand. And I know firsthand through my experience of the power of having clarity of your vision. I've had experiences where I practiced some things, creating vision in my mind's eye, and really went through a visioning process and watched how my life then magnetized that direction. That things started to happen beyond logic that fell into my lap, that constructed this reality that matched the vision I had in the first place. Vision is powerful. I put together what I call a vision mastery playbook. I want to offer it out there. It's available. I created it specifically for leaders and entrepreneurs to gain clarity of their vision, because I know even if you're completely intentional and purposeful, but you don't know where you're going, it's like you're great. You're driving well, You've got control of the wheel and the gas and the brake, and you're shifting, but you don't have a map. You don't know where you're going. Get clarity of your vision. So I have a vision mastery playbook I created for the listeners of this specific podcast. Download it, check it out, see if you can gain some clarity of your vision. That's one of the keys to living on purpose.
I love that so much. And we'll put the link for that in the show notes. Yes, I assume that I have it. Okay. Because something that I say to my clients all the time is a way is not a direction. Right. And so like when we're looking at, if you don't know where you're headed, if you don't have that vision, the direction you're always moving is probably away. I'm moving away from discomfort, away from anxiety, away from I'm just trying to get away from the things I don't want, but I don't know where I'm headed. Right. We need to go towards. And so I'm so glad that you're offering that for people. And back to the thing we were saying about how knowing what you're moving towards is the thing that puts you in that place of, I am unwilling to be the thing that stops me from getting there.
Yes.
I know where I'm going, and now I care about where I'm going.
And it is relentless in its ability, clarity of your vision, to keep you from being duped by your mind's patterns and falling back into, because we move away from discomfort, but we often move towards pleasure. Move towards things that validate the self-concept we've constructed. And it keeps us on that hamster wheel. And it's not about pleasure or pain. It's about intention, clarity of vision, intention, presence, and awareness. Those four, in my mind, are it. When you've got that mastered, you have all of it mastered.
I love this so much. What a fun conversation.
Yes, you're the best.
You're the best. Where can people find you?
Yeah. Just check me out, maysleadership.com, MAYS leadership.com. And again, please download the Vision Mastery Playbook. Create your vision. I love talking about this stuff, and I'm happy to be helpful in any way I can. We've got all kinds of programs and free stuff available, just trying to be helpful. I look back one time recently, I saved all the work from when I was a kid that I did in school, and I found this thing in 4th grade. What's the most important thing a person could do? And I wrote, be helpful. And it's so funny that pattern of thinking in my head then it drives me today. If I can just be helpful, I said, the world's, I'll do everything I can to be helpful, and my life will work out.
Well, I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
That's our episode for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. I know there are so many things that you could be doing with your day, so many things you could be listening to, and it means so much that you are here in this community. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment, share it on social media, and tag me at Intuitive Edge Coaching. Share it with a biz bestie who you think needs to hear it and will appreciate it. And take a moment to to subscribe, and to leave a 5-star review wherever you are listening. It helps me grow this show, and it helps us grow and sustain this brilliant community of entrepreneurs dedicated to doing the inner work. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, love you. Bye.